listening to Reality Wrap. I'm your host, Melanie. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Reality Wrap. Today I will be recapping last night's episode of The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 8, Episode 7. And I have to ask you guys, are any of you enjoying watching this trip to Austin? Because I have to say that I think this might be one of the more boring cast trips that we have ever seen. Certainly there are better things to do in Austin than what we are seeing. Pretty much so far we have seen them sit at the pool, sit in Ashley's suite with plans of drawing vaginas, but thank God they ran out of time before we actually got to that. They've gone boot shopping, a distillery tasting, and then played chicken shit bingo, and now they're kayaking. Which is funny because is Austin known for their kayaking? I feel like we have better kayaking here in the DC area than they do in Austin. So I'm not really sure why this was part of their trip, but here we are. Anyway, this I guess is going to be the last episode until January 7th because of the holidays, which honestly is fine with me. I need a little bit of a break from watching Potomac. Not gonna lie. This season is, while it's better than last season, this season is not the most exciting. I'm hoping that the second half picks up. It looks like it will just from the mid-season trailer that we got at the end of last night's episode. It does look like it's going to get better. What I found interesting was there was no clips of the fight that happened between Cookie Monster and Wendy's friend that we all know happened during the season. I think it was towards the end of the season. Supposedly, production had already wrapped for the day when the fight broke out, but somebody caught it on a cell phone because there's video footage of it out there of them actually fighting. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually makes it into the season or if they'll just avoid it altogether. Anyway, I am hoping that the second half of the season goes better than this first half because so far it hasn't been great. So this episode starts in the car with Robyn still crying, upset about what Candiace said about Juan losing his job because she spoke about his legal case. She tells them that Juan doesn't talk about anybody on the show, yet all of the other husbands talk trash about other people. Candiace tells her that her husband only defends himself against lying ass MFers. And then we see the clip of Chris on the Brav Bros podcast, and I don't think what he said was bad. All he said was that he wondered if Robyn was making a big deal about their situation to deflect what was going on between her and Juan. I didn't listen to this episode, so I don't know if there was more than just that clip of what he said about Robyn. But again, if that was it, then I don't think what he said was really that big of a deal. Candiace tells Robyn that it appears that she was complicit in what Giselle was saying about Chris. And Robyn's like, if you believe that, then we're not friends. Robyn tells us in her talking head that it's clear to her who is enjoying the downfall of Robyn. I don't think anybody is enjoying watching the self-inflicted downfall of Robyn this season. Robyn was the one who hid everything that was going on in her marriage from the show. She then took it to her podcast, which is behind a paid paywall, and shared what was going on there. Robyn has shared hardly any of her private life with Juan on this show, yet in prior seasons, all she's done is stick her nose into other people's business and bring it up on the show. And now that that is happening to her this season, suddenly she's a victim and everybody wants to see her downfall. Look, I get it. Robyn is in a bad spot emotionally. Juan is verbally abusive to her, and clearly he's cheating on her. He's been caught in all these weird situations and he lies about it and comes up with these crazy explanations. He deletes messages on his phone and somehow she thinks that's normal. Whether she actually believes it or not, or she's just saying that, I don't know. But I think emotionally she's not in a good place. But unfortunately, she is taking it out on these women in her cast instead of taking it out on the person who deserves it, which is Juan. Now, in regards to Candiace saying that Robyn is complicit with what Giselle is saying about Chris, I do kind of have to defend Robyn here because she did say last season that she did not believe that Chris was being inappropriate with Giselle when they went to that lunch. But I do think Candiace was expecting more than her just saying that I don't agree with Giselle. Since at one point, Robyn did tell Candiace that she was like a little sister to her. And since Robyn didn't make this grand gesture of disagreement with Giselle, Candiace took this as her being complicit with Giselle's accusations. I get it. It was probably hard for Robyn to be in the middle of all this because she is good friends with Giselle and they have this podcast together and they make money. And then she looks at Candiace like she's a little sister, and they also had a close friendship. So she's probably trying to stay as neutral as she can without stepping on anybody's toes. So in that regards, I kind of say I don't feel like she was being complicit. I think she was just trying to stay neutral. So they arrive to the bar where they're going to play this chicken shit bingo. Karen is panicked because there are chickens there. The dirty birds. They sit down at a booth and a woman comes over and she's explaining how to play. Basically, a chicken has to shit on a number for you to get bingo. I don't know. I guess I could think of about 10 other things I'd rather go do than this, but whatever, this is what Ashley chose. Robyn starts to cry again and says that Candiace implied that her talking about Juan's legal case had something to do with him getting fired. And this causes Candiace to start crying. Mia and Giselle very quickly say that Candiace is now making this about her and that's why she's crying. I personally don't think that is the case. Candiace is obviously sensitive. So I think her seeing Robyn, who she was close with, at one point cry, made her cry. And in her talking head, Candiace tells us that all she ever wanted was to be there for Robyn. And while she's saying this, she even starts tearing up. So I don't think her crying at the bar had anything to do with her trying to make it about her. I think she's just a sensitive person. And watching her friend cry, in turn, made her cry. Robyn decides that she needs a break, so she gets up and she goes outside and Mia goes with her. Robyn tells her that she just wants to be alone. Mia stands off to the side, which I think was actually kind of smart for her. They're in a city that they don't really know. It looked like they were kind of on a busy street. For her to just leave somebody alone outside, I don't know. I thought it was pretty smart of Mia to stand outside with her, even though she has to be alone. In her talking head, Robyn tells us that it hurts her to have to watch Juan go through this whole situation with him losing his job and going through all this legal stuff. And I'm like, isn't that interesting that Robyn is having a hard time watching him go through all the problems that he's going through, yet he can't even talk to Robyn on a phone and listen to her talk about what's upsetting her without saying, I don't have time for this, I don't want to listen to this, and hanging up on her. Their relationship definitely comes off as very one-sided, at least from what we see on screen. It is very much about him and what he's going through and him trying to explain his way out of everything. And then when it's time for her to talk about something, he just shuts her down. At some point, Giselle gets up and goes outside to talk to Mia while Robyn is sitting on the curb. Giselle tells Mia that Robyn is so strong because she keeps it all in and that the way Candiace is treating Robyn makes her not want to sit at the table. Back inside, Candiace is also crying and Wendy and Karen are trying to calm her down. Candiace tells us in her talking head that it's hard to be friends with someone who is friends with Giselle.
Giselle's allegations against my husband had a grave effect on my marriage, my mental health. I'm starting to realize that it's not really possible to have a true, honest, real friendship with someone who is friends with someone like Giselle.
I do believe Candiace when she says that what Giselle was saying about Chris did have an impact on her and Chris's marriage. I'm sure it caused a lot of stress on Chris to be accused of being inappropriate when, just from the sounds of it, it didn't really sound like it was a big deal. But I also don't want to diminish Giselle's feelings. If she was really feeling uncomfortable when her and Chris were talking alone in a room, then I don't want to diminish that. What I do disagree with, though, is how she waited until filming started and then brought it to Candiace's attention. What she should have done was pulled Candiace aside when it happened off camera and told her, listen, I just want you to know I felt very uncomfortable with being alone with Chris in a room. But instead, she did it on camera. And that's the problem I have with Giselle. I don't like Giselle, but I am not going to diminish the way she felt. But I am going to judge her on the way she handled it. She brought that shit up on camera and made a whole storyline out of it last season. Back inside the bar, Wendy and Karen are talking about the manipulations that are going on in the group. And Nneka in her talking head tells us that she thinks that Wendy is manipulating Candiace and that Candiace is not allowed to think on her own. Nneka, stay in your lane. You are brand new this season. We don't need to hear your thoughts on the other women's relationships. You've been here for 5 minutes. Wendy, Candiace, and Karen go outside and they're talking about how they think that Robyn feels bad because she feels like whatever she said about Juan's legal case got him fired. Candiace says that it is not smart to talk about an ongoing legal situation, which I totally agree with, especially when you're on a show where they edit what you say. Candiace tells them, I am not speaking about my legal situation while the woman who is still married to the motherfucker who is suing me is sitting inside. Again, I totally agree with Candiace here. And I also feel like Ashley is not beyond taking information if Candiace were to talk about the legal case between her and Michael Darby, taking that information and running back to Michael and telling him what she said, especially if it benefits her financially somehow. I don't trust Ashley whatsoever. Karen tells Candiace that she thinks that they'll all get past this, and Candiace says that she is happy to finally see Robyn caught up in her emotions of what is happening to her because she's been closed off for so long, and seeing Robyn get emotional made her get emotional as well. So Candiace finally collects herself and they go back in. Robyn, Giselle, and Mia call an Uber and head back to the hotel. Also, on a side note, why do people wear shoes that they can't walk around in? If you can't walk normal in a pair of shoes, then don't wear them. It doesn't matter how cool the shoes are or how expensive they were. If you can't walk in them, don't wear them. Giselle looked so silly staggering around on the sidewalk in a pair of shoes that she clearly didn't know how to walk in. So everybody else goes back in and they play the chicken shit bingo. Somebody points out that one of the bartenders at the bar looks like Chris, and I had to agree, he kind of did. Karen tells them that she is having an allergic reaction because her areola is itchy. It's like, what? Robyn, Mia, and Giselle are in the car talking about Candiace, and they're like, why was she crying? Especially since she was the one who was cyberbullying, which is a stretch, but whatever, Robyn. The night wraps up with the women all getting ready for bed. Pretty much an uneventful day. I don't know. Like I said, I could think of 10 other things I'd rather do than go play chicken shit bingo, but whatever. The next morning, we see Karen on the phone with her brother, and he is singing happy birthday to her. Candiace is on the phone with Chris, and she's telling him about the argument with Robyn and how everything that she has been feeling the last couple of months came out. Chris is like, well, just go and try to enjoy the day. Giselle goes to Karen's room, and she has brought her 3 gifts. One is a bottle of champagne for her first 20. The second is peanut M&Ms for her second 20. And the third gift is because it is in the shape of a penis. And that is for her third 20. And it's just a big Snickers bar, but whatever. Karen's like, oh, thank you so much. These all look like they came from the hotel, but that's okay. Which I was like, she 100% went down to the hotel gift shop and bought all of that. Karen tells Robyn that Ray told her that when he turned 60, he started realizing that every day is important. Karen tells her, I really hope that this birthday is not like my birthday last year, which was a total disaster. Giselle tells her there will be no disasters today, and she knows how Karen really wants the whole group to move forward, and that's great and everything, but that there is no moving forward for her and Candiace because of the colorism accusations that Candiace has made about her. And I guess this has resulted in Giselle receiving death threats. And when Giselle told Candiace about it, Candiace's response was, well, I get death threats too. Giselle tells us in her talking head that she needs to keep her girls safe and that Candiace crossed a line with her that she will never forgive. Karen tells her that she wishes that Giselle would have told her sooner about the death threats and that she is so sorry that happened to her. She totally understands. She has a daughter too. She loves Giselle's daughters. She doesn't want anything that will put them at risk to happen. And so she will never ask Giselle to make up with Candiace again. Now, while I am not a Giselle fan, I do find the fact that she received death threats over the colorism accusations scary and sad. People need to realize that this is a show and that nothing that happens on these shows justifies receiving death threats ever. That is just a line that is crossed and it goes too far. We also see Mia talking to Gordon on the phone and he is telling her that he spoke to an attorney about suing his siblings. Mia tells us in her talking head that she doesn't agree with him suing his siblings, but he has decided that he's still going to do it and that this is causing a lot of stress in their marriage. The ladies all meet up in the lobby to head out to go kayaking. Karen is happy because it is a beautiful day and she is feeling good on her triple 20 birthday. So they arrive to Lady Bird Lake. Karen says that she is going to wait on the dock because she can't swim. Ashley makes a smart-ass comment in her talking head that she thought that Karen, who likes to flaunt her muscles all over social media, and then we see a photo of Karen in her bikini and she's got like a washboard abs, which I kind of question as to whether that photo was photoshopped. Actually, I don't question it. I'm pretty sure that was photoshopped, but whatever. Anyways, how somebody who flaunts their muscles all over social media would want to work out her muscles by kayaking. I'm going to give Karen a pass because she doesn't know how to swim, so I get that. So we see all the women go out in their kayaks, and all of a sudden Candiace comes walking down the dock, and for some reason she doesn't go kayaking, so she comes and she sits down with Karen. She tells Karen that yesterday was a lot and she was not expecting to get so emotional, and she really wants to thank Karen. Karen tells her, you know, it was really great how this group of women rallied around both of you. While they're talking, we also see Robyn and Giselle, and they're out paddling like two old Bettys. Robyn is telling Giselle that she needs to call Juan and tell him what happened. I don't know why, Robyn, because we know Juan doesn't care. I don't know why she feels the need to constantly fill him in and say things like, I have to let Juan know what happened, because he doesn't give a shit and he's just going to yell at you, which he ends up doing at the end of this episode. So you would think she's learned her lesson by now, but I guess she hasn't. All the other ladies go back to the dock to get drinks, and we see Karen and Candiace pouring wine in their mouths. Also, can I just say that Candiace has a great butt? She was in her swimsuit, and I was like, wow, she has the cutest little body. So we continue to see them kayaking all around. Not the most exciting thing to watch. I love to kayak, but watching it on TV is not that interesting. So they finish up their kayaking, and they get back in the car. Karen tells her car that she is buying her grandmother's house in Surrey, and she wants to restore the house and turn it into a resort for people who are visiting Surrey. And she tells them that she's like found different things, like her grandpa's old sled and an old refrigerator. And she says, you know I'm not the only Black woman to own a plantation or a farm, but I really hope that people will see this and replicate it everywhere. They arrive back to the hotel and they're all up in their rooms, and we see Robyn calling Juan, and she tells us in her talking head that Juan was fired with 15 months left on his contract. So he is still getting paid, but he doesn't have to work. And that she hopes that he will find a job in 15 months. And this is where I was kind of like, so if he still has 15 months left on his contract and they fired him, I don't think it was because they were just unhappy with his coaching. If it was just his coaching that got him fired, wouldn't they have just demoted him and had him do something else until his contract ran out instead of paying him to not work? I mean, they just flat out fired him and they're still paying him for 15 months. So to me, that indicates that they want absolutely nothing to do with him, and that it probably had everything to do with the legal case that he was involved in, and not because he wasn't a good coach. It'll be interesting to see where he lands in 15 months, that's for sure. Anyway, we see her telling him about how Karen, Wendy, and Candiace had a lot to say about how they believe she damaged the group because she didn't share what was going on in her marriage while they were filming, and how Candiace implied that her talking about his legal case didn't help him. And he immediately starts yelling at her and saying, you're just feeding into it. And he's yelling that, it's not their life, it's our life. And he tells her that he can't listen to her because his skin is crawling, and then he hangs up.
Listen, Robyn, this is how you're feeding into it. You're getting emotional. For what? You getting emotional. It's not their life. It's our life. I'm not going to let you keep allowing these women get you super emotional.
I'm not emotional. I'm not emotional.
Right now. Robyn, please. I can't listen to you because my skin is crawling right now. I gotta go.
This man is such a dick. I wish she could see that the way he's treating her is so wrong, and she spends so much time defending this man and worrying about this man, and he just continues to treat her badly. I really hope she watches this season back and like a light bulb goes off in her head and she's like, I don't need this man. I mean, he treats me horribly. What is he bringing to the table? Nothing. Anyway, we then get to see what's upcoming the rest of the season. It looks like there's some sort of a group photo shoot. Candiace wants a baby, Karen gets a tattoo, and Giselle is sad because her daughter is leaving in 30 days. And then we also see Gordon tell Mia that she has been cheating on him for years and he is over it. So the upcoming trailer did look good. It looked a lot better than the first half of the season that we've witnessed. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Well, guys, that is all I have for this episode. I know this is a shorter recap, but honestly, there wasn't that much that went on other than the Chicka Chit Bingo and the kayaking, of which I don't need to recap that in detail. So I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. I will be back with my recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and the recap of Beverly Hills with Sean later on this week. So I will talk to you guys then. Bye.